Before Victor Wembanyama would be hailed as everything from an alien to the single greatest NBA prospect since LeBron James. Before Victor would earn the nickname Wemby and would clock in nearly 4 million followers over on Instagram. Before Wemby would sign with the San Antonio Spurs and would have an estimated net worth of $10 million at the age of just 20 years old. Now Victor, he was born in the Paris suburb of Le Chesnay on January 4th, 2004 to a family of very, very tall people. Now let's start with his father Felix, a former long jumper who measures in at 6'6". Then there's his mother Elodie, a former basketball player and a coach who clocks in only 3 inches shorter at a whopping 6'3". Yeah, his mom, she'd be my height. Now, while Victor's parents, they tend to shy away from the spotlight, it was his mom who introduced her young son to the love for the game of basketball. And while Victor, he has suggested in the past that his mom reminds him the most of himself, well, the list of athletes in his family, it definitely doesn't end just there. Not only is Victor's sister Eve also a professional basketball player, while his younger brother Oscar plays for the French under-18 club, and even his grandparents, they used to ball. Seriously, Victor's grandfather, he played professionally in the 60s in the French First Division for Paris University Club as a rugged 6'7" center, while his grandma, well, she was also known for her skills on the court. So yeah, you could say that a dedication for sports, it runs deep in his family. But for Victor himself, it started when he spent his earliest days following his mom around the gym with whatever youth basketball team she happened to be coaching at the time. Now soon enough, he started to play ball around the age of 7 for his local club, Entente Le Chessé. Then at 10 years old, he entered the JSF Nanterre youth system after being discovered by their coach, Michel Allard, who originally thought he was looking at an assistant coach when he first laid eyes on young Victor. I mean, that's how tall this kid was even back then. 3 years later, Victor, he was winning his first championship at the age of 13, and he pinpoints that victory as the exact moment he fell in love with winning, which would be something that he'd continue to do much more over the next few years. Now, soon enough, Victor, he began teaching himself everything he could about English so that he could eventually play in the NBA. Now, he'd need to be proficient beyond the little he had picked up at school. So he watched videos on Instagram along with a bunch of English-speaking television series so he could pick up the language as quickly as possible. Well, they did what they could to keep his life normal for as long as they could by making sure Victor kept up with his schoolwork. For instance, if he ever got bad grades, well, his coaches would be forced to send him to the wooden scorer's table in the gym so he would finish his homework instead of practicing with his friends. Then at the age of 14, Victor moved to the Nanterre dormitory where the club houses its players. It's a simple building that it's only about 15-minute walk to school, and his coaches even ordered him a specially made bed from northern France that was designated to fit his gigantic frame. Now, it was with this support system in place that Victor, he worked on increasing his skill base in the hopes of becoming the best of the best. After all, this kid, well, he's had big dreams and bigger expectations for himself since day one. He even recently told the New York Times, "I've always felt like I was on a different level. I've always tried to be original in everything I do. And it's really something that stays in my soul. Be original. Be one of a kind. It's like I can't explain it. I think I was born with it." But even with all that natural talent, well, no one could have predicted where Victor would go next. Around the age of 16 is when everything began to come together for Victor. One of his coaches asked him to do a simple exercise. Choose a meaningful word that started with the very same letter as his first name. Now, rather than answer the question directly, well, Victor took it down a slightly different path. He told his coach that the V in his name, it represents the Roman numeral for 5, and then proceeded to drop the one bar every basketball coach secretly wants to hear, saying, "My name is Victor because I can play all 5 positions." Now, not too long after that, in October of 2020, Victor was training in the gym when 2 older French professional ballers arrived, one of whom was current NBA all-defensive Rudy Gobert. Now, at the time, Gobert, he was still playing for the Utah Jazz and had already won the league's Defensive Player of the Year award twice. But Victor, he couldn't help himself. He started trash-talking the older heads, and soon enough, a 2-on-2 game broke out. One that would wind up announcing Victor's presence to the basketball world at large when it hit YouTube and began circulating in front of nearly 7 million pairs of eyeballs. Now, why was Victor's play such a revelation? reason? Well, because here was this 16-year-old kid taking it to someone widely considered to be one of the very best defenders in the NBA, snatching rebounds over Gobert's head while displaying guard-like reflexes and dribbling techniques that most big men can't even fantasize about. And did I mention how fluid his jump shot looked as well? Yeah. After that clip made the rounds, well, Victor, his hype train was off and running. That same year, the 2019 to 2020 season would become the very first that Victor played for the Nanterre professional team as a member of the LNB Pro Basketball League out in France. Now, he didn't exactly light up the scoreboards that first season, but he did manage to score 14 points and collect 10 rebounds during a breakout game in May of 2021. After graduating from high school, well, Victor made the decision to leave Nanterre behind for ASVEL. Now, that's a club based in the suburb of Lyon, France, and it's owned by French NBA legend Tony Parker. Now, he signed a 3-year contract there and made his EuroLeague debut in October of 2021. Now, a few weeks later in April, well, he was scoring a career-high 25 points for his team in a blowout win over their opponent.
I think it's the next logical step after leaving my home club, at Nanterre, where I spent 7 years.
Now, unfortunately, he would then suffer a muscle injury that forced him to miss the playoffs that summer. Now, once the season had come to an end, well, Victor, he decided to opt out of his contract with ASVEL and then returned to Paris, signing with the Metropolitans 92, which is based out to the Levallois-Perret, which is close to where his parents actually currently live. Now, ever since returning home, well, fans in the city, they've been selling out the 2,800-seat arena for the first few games of the team's new season. But of course, all of this is just preamble. Now, Victor knows that his future, it lies across the ocean as a member of the NBA. Not that that will make leaving his home country any easier, he revealed to the New York Times. "I'm gonna miss France for sure, but I've worked all my life for this, so I'm really just thankful and grateful." Now, he has since signed with the San Antonio Spurs, and believe me when I say, well, Victor isn't the only one who should be feeling grateful. I mean, if you're a fan of the sport of basketball, you should too as well. Now, will Victor's immense frame be able to hold up during the grueling 82-game NBA schedule? Well, that's not something Victor is worrying about at all just right now. The only thing he's concerned about is having an impact on the court. "My goal is to be like something you've never seen." Well, something tells me that this 7'4" alien, he's gonna take your already lofty expectations and blow them right out of the water. But until he does, well, we'll just all have to wait and see what happens next. After all, this has been Before They're Famous. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this one up here. Be sure to let us know who you want us to document next, and I'll be sure to see you guys in another video.